Of just a couple days ago, gold's share of global international reserves has jumped to 17.6% in 2023, the most in 27 years. The share has almost doubled since 2016 as central banks ramp up purchase. But here's the interesting part. Gold is now the second largest asset held in global central bank reserves, exceeding the euro for the first time ever. The number one is still the US dollar, but its 48% world share is down from 60%. Meanwhile, the central bank's net gold purchases saw a record in Q1 2024. They're selling dollars, they're selling euro, they're selling treasuries, and they are buying gold, which can't be sanctioned. And so, yeah, the all at once hasn't happened yet. But how hard would it be for OPEC to say we're done taking dollars for oil?
Popular bullion dealer and financial commentator Andy Schectman believes the final pieces are now falling in place to steer the global economy and financial system back to a gold standard. During a recent interview with Liberty and Finance, Andy speaks about two important events that are clear proofs of the little by little, then all-at-once moment Andy has been predicting for years. The first event is gold surpassing the euro in global international reserves. According to recent reports, central banks' continued accumulation of gold, coupled with rising gold prices, has grown the precious metals share of reserves to the detriment of fiat currencies. As of the end of 2023, gold had surpassed the euro and is now the second most held asset by central banks after the US dollar. The dollar's share of global reserves has been a steady fall in recent years, going from over 78% in the early 80s to 48% as of 2023. Gold has gone from 11% of global reserves to 18% as of 2023, while the euro is stuck at 16%. The 50-year petrodollar agreement between the US and Saudi Arabia has expired, per reports from numerous sources. This agreement established the US dollar as the preferred currency for crude oil transactions and made it the world's reserve currency. It expired on June 9th, leaving Saudi Arabia and other countries free to officially accept other currencies for crude oil transactions, greatly reducing the global demand for dollars. This will hurt the US economy and financial markets, as many countries will soon begin to dump their excess dollars on us. Andy says this will be the all-at-once moment for the US economy and the global debt-based fiat system, and the beginning of another gold standard era for the global economy. We will present clips from Andy's interview, but before we do, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for the support, and enjoy the video.
Enbridge maybe 2 years ago when it first came out, a year and a half, 2 years ago, and it's a coalition or collaboration, I should say, between the central banks of China, Hong Kong, Thailand, and the UAE. And I find it interesting, first and foremost, that what it is, it's a cross-border digital payment system that allows these countries to trade their local digital currencies with one another outside of the SWIFT system. So there's no SWIFT interference. And the first two test trades were done at the end of last year, 2023. The first one was using yuan, and I think it was with the UAE, digital yuan to buy oil. It was a cross-border oil purchase. The second one was a cross-border gold purchase. Now, if you ask me, commodities like gold and oil have been remonetized across the globe. They have become more valuable than the currencies that are purchasing them. This is Zoltan Pozsar's Bretton Woods 3, where commodities rule the day. And I find it interesting that that is the case. Now, I thought it was a big deal when it came out, and I talked a lot about it when it first came out, because this is a way for them to sidestep the sanctions. The sanctions are largely SWIFT related, right? So there was an article that just came out last week, June 5th. Saudi Arabia has joined a China-dominated central bank digital currency cross-border trial in what would be another step towards less of the world's oil trade being done in US dollars. The move announced by the BIS on Wednesday will see Saudi Arabia's central bank become a full participation of Project Enbridge, a full participant of Project Enbridge. And so, look, they decided to not go to the G7 meeting. They're now a full participant in the Project Enbridge. We already know about the BRICS. We know about the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. All of the OPEC countries are on the Belt Road. You can see this stuff is starting to take shape. And I thought James Rickards had a very interesting take recently on why they haven't issued their common settlement currency. And I have to agree with it. And intuitively, this is what we've really said for a long time. But the way he explained it, I think, is worth just noting here. And that he said, look, there's 10 countries now, the 5 original plus Saudi Arabia, Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Egypt. And so if they had a common settlement currency, even if it were pegged to gold or whatever, selling or buying from one of the 10 members with the common settlement currency, with the proceeds, you would want to use it to buy something. So you only have 9 other countries to shop with. Well, there was just a meeting that happened, as we've talked about on this show ad nauseum. There were going to be 200 meetings between the beginning of the year and the big BRICS meeting in October. And they just came out with a report here of a meeting that happened it's called NIZHNY, Nizhny Novgorod. And there was a meeting that just came out, and there were 54-point summation article that I read, and I'm just going to highlight a couple of them here. One is that this was just a couple days ago. 21,000 people attended from 139 nations. 78,000 in bilateral deals were signed on the sidelines, meaning I'm going to trade with my local currency and your local currency. We won't use the dollar. And most of these deals are now not putting their reserves, the excess, into treasuries. They're putting them into gold. But the third one is the big one, and that is 59 nations plan to join BRICS. This just came out of this meeting the other day. And so if you have 59 countries to trade with in common settlement, you can go shopping in 59 countries instead of 10. When they get this critical mass, a large enough group of countries that are now approaching, you add 59 countries on here, you bring in the Shanghai Cooperation and the Eurasian Economic Union, which you keep hearing about, it will happen. And then look at the Belt Road Initiative, you're talking 90% of human population. And so when you have more and more and more countries signing on to the BRICS, 59 countries have planned to join, you have the ability to issue a common settlement currency. It doesn't have to be a reserve currency. That's where gold can come in.
Another important event, Andy says, is drawing the world closer to a gold standard, is Project mBridge, which aims to explore a multi-central bank digital currency, CBDC platform, to aid cross-border payments and settlement among participating central banks and commercial banks. The project, a collaboration between the Bank of International Settlement Innovation Hub, the Bank of Thailand, the Central Bank of the United Arab Emirates, the Digital Currency Institute of the People's Bank of China, and the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, has reached the minimum viable product stage, and its membership continues to grow. The Saudi Central Bank is joining mBridge as a full participant. There are also now more than 26 observing members. The development and increasing interest in this project is an indication that the world is tired of the Western hegemony, and countries are fully ready to wrest control from the United States and the rest of the Western world. It's no coincidence that these same countries have been stockpiling gold at a dizzying rate for years.
When the switch is flipped, and that's why I like the term little by little by little by little, but then all at once, logarithmic decay. The little by little you can see, and I'll show you that here in 1 second, but you can see the little by little in all of these bilateral deals that are being struck and using the mBridge and selling treasuries and buying gold. That's the little by little by little. And yes, the all at once, every country in the world has had to stockpile dollars for 50 years. It was 50 years last week that the deal was signed in order to buy oil. And if everyone had no incentive to ever hold those dollars again, the dumping of those dollars, this is the great reset I talk about, would create hyperinflation as that tsunami of dollars hit our shore, overwhelm the issuer, the US, creating hyperinflation. And the byproduct of hyperinflation is to see interest rates rise to compensate, not directed by the Fed or Powell, who doesn't want to do that and blow everything up. But if the market does it, we now have a villain to point to. Those guys dump the dollar. They're not taking the dollar for oil any longer. It's Xi Jinping and Putin and OPEC and Saudi Arabia. How could they do this to us? Well, forget about the fact that we signed an executive order to go green, or that our bonehead, knucklehead, embarrassing lead economic advisor, who embarrassed himself horribly in that video that circulated around Twitter for the last few weeks about him trying to explain money creation and bond sales. His whole theory is to lose the reserve status. And when we talk about the share of reserves, as of just a couple days ago, gold's share of global international reserves has jumped to 17.6% in 2023, the most in 27 years. The share has almost doubled since 2016 as central banks ramp up purchase. But here's the interesting part. Gold is now the second largest asset held in global central bank reserves, exceeding the euro for the first time ever. The number one is still the US dollar, but its 48% world share is down from 60%. Meanwhile, the central bank's net gold purchases saw a record in Q1 2024. They're selling dollars, they're selling euro, they're selling treasuries, and they are buying gold, which can't be sanctioned. And so, yeah, the all at once hasn't happened yet. But how hard would it be for OPEC to say we're done taking dollars for oil? That's the rumor that's been circulating around the internet, that the petrodollar deal wasn't renewed. Now, I would be the first one to scream that from the rooftops, but I haven't seen any official acknowledgement of that yet. So I'm not going to run with it other than to say a lot of people are saying it's already happened. I don't know if I can believe that or not. I never saw a 50-year timeline on the original agreement, nor have I seen any official statements from Saudi Arabia or the US. But I'll tell you one thing. We did see the United Arab Emirates say we don't want to take dollars anymore, and they're the seventh largest producer of oil in the world and an OPEC member, and we're admitted into BRICS alongside Saudi Arabia. So to imagine an environment where the world dumps dollars because they're no longer needed for oil purchases, as every OPEC country is on the Belt Road, and all of these countries are moving away from this country because of sanctions and because of our behavior and because we're going green. So what do they need to work with us for? A currency where we've obviously chosen inflation over austerity, and a bond market that's been volatile as hell. And if indeed we did see that moment, and Rafi is right, the all at once moment where dollars are forsaken because you don't need them for oil anymore. And to his point, every country in the world's had to stockpile them for 50 years. Yeah, the ramifications or the result would be disastrous, because you would see interest rates spike to compensate for that hyperinflation, and all of the assets in this country, stocks, bonds, real estate, and even the banks, which are over leveraged and undercapitalized, and the insurance companies are loaded with treasuries, they're all inversely related or correlated or valued to a massive spike in interest rates. So yeah, it would be disastrous, and it would happen very quickly.
In May, renowned economist, lawyer, and investment banker Jim Rickards predicted that gold prices could reach over $27,000 per ounce if the world returned to a gold standard. Rickards warned that if confidence in command currencies collapses due to some combination of excessive money creation, competition from Bitcoin, extreme levels of dollar debt, a new financial crisis, war, or natural disaster, central banks would have no choice but to return to a gold standard to avoid a collapse. To explain how he arrived at the $27,000 prediction, Rickards explained that the US M1 money supply is $17.9 trillion. Assuming a 40% gold backing, a standard ratio used from 1913 to 1946, $7.2 trillion worth of gold would be required to back the system, yielding a gold price of $27,533 per ounce. When do you think the all-at-once moment will occur, and central banks will be forced to abandon worthless paper money systems and return to a proven system based on tangible assets? How do you think that moment will impact gold and silver prices? Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos on gold, silver, and other metals and commodities. Thanks for watching.